What's up guys, welcome to Tech Notice. Can someone please tell me who invented that phrase? What's up? What the heck are you supposed to answer to that? What's up? I don't know, just just happening good. What's up you? Ah, what a weird phrase. Anyway, today what we're talking about is this bad boy over here. Let me turn it on, listen to this. Boom. This is the PFY Maverick. Actually, let me correct myself, PFY Maverick. It's not Pilot Fly, this is PFY. And this is the review for this bad boy. And let's jump into it. So usually when I've made gimbal reviews, then they're around 20 minutes or reaching the 30-minute mark. Then to keep this video short, I'm trying to separate it out a little bit to other videos. So rather than talking about how to use it, we're talking about the review and what I like about it and some of the features on this video. And I'm gonna make separate smaller videos about how to use like a time-lapse feature, for example, how to use some certain other features, how to set up the follow focus system, things like that. So these will be separately. So if you want to know something specifically, or if you're thinking about buying this gimbal, leave a comment below so I'll make sure that this or your comment or your question will be covered in the future videos. But on this one then, we're talking about the actual features and like my review now. I've used it, is it worth buying? What's it like? What's the usability like? All these things, we're gonna cover it. So without no further ado, let's jump into the video. But do you know what? Usually people harass you in the end of the video, but why don't you hit that like button already? Also, subscribe if you haven't already, because more content like this is coming out every single week. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna read you out some of the features. Now, these are not all the features, but just so you know what we're dealing with. So there's gonna be a lot of B-roll now. So just kind of, take a cup of tea and enjoy these features, okay? So this is just the follow focus that you get with the gimbal, as well as anything, depends which kit you're gonna go for, but this is just an awesome extra that you can get for as well. So the gimbal supports up to 4.2 kilograms of payload. It's got a removable handle for accessories and expansions. So if you want to, you can take the top of the handle or the top off, and for futures, you can get a 2-handle grip or separate things that PFY is developing at the moment. It's a toolless design, so to put a camera on and set it all up needs no extra tools. You can just do it in the middle of nowhere, even in the space if required to. It's got a 45-degree roll axis for direct view onto the camera screen. It's got a video start and stop button on the handle, which means that you don't need to touch the camera to start and stop your video recording. It's got a shutter release and manual and autofocus trigger on the back of the handle here, as one of those buttons as well. It's got a changeable battery and a 12-hour battery life per one battery. But the changeable battery is awesome because if you are somewhere and you need a very long shoot and you need to keep shooting, you don't need to put this camera or this gimbal to charge somewhere on a power LED. Just get an extra battery, scroll the bottom off, new battery, and boom, and keep shooting. It's got 5 pre-configured camera payload settings already built into the camera. So when you're shooting whichever camera, you just type in the weight, basically what your camera is, boom, and it's adjusting all the right settings so you get the most smoothest footage and without any micro jitters in the actual motors. The gimbal has an OLED screen for your easy access for the settings of the camera and of the gimbal and all the simple PGC software settings, which is absolutely amazing. It's got 5 different follow modes, including the Dutch roll built inside the camera, quick access to those as well. 5-way joystick, built-in motion time-lapse feature with shutter adjustment. So the actual gimbal can trigger the shutter as well. So through the gimbal handle here, it actually communicates with your camera and you can adjust the shutter speed, not just the actual picture, so which is really cool. So basically like a proper time-lapse triggering machine built into the handle, which communicates to the camera. Once your camera is connected to the gimbal to use these extra features, to change the settings and actually stop recording on the handle, it charges the camera at the same time, which means longer battery life for your camera. You don't need to change batteries. It is very lightweight and portable. The main thing for them, why they designed this one, was to make it as small as possible and as lightweight as and portable as possible. As you can see over here, you're wondering what's this bag? This is the bag it comes in. It comes in a little backpack that also includes all the accessories. Everything is in the backpack, including gimbal. That's nice to know that you can just buy the gimbal, get this backpack and climb, you know, Everest and shoot some footage. It's got panorama features including a spherical panorama. So basically what you can do is take panorama shots, including this gimbal, so it moves the camera certain ways to take photos. You can stitch them together and get really massive file size photos if you don't have a wide angle lens, for example. It's also got manual angle adjustment. So for example, if you want the horizon to be, you know, 10 degrees off or whatever, all you have to do is take hold of this gimbal, this axis. It makes that noise, boom, and it's moved 10 degrees. So if you want to have a slightly on an angle, or depending on your shoot, just, you know, creative, really cool. Now, like I mentioned before, you can change the settings on the gimbal handle. We're gonna go into that on another video, but there's a lot of different settings that you can access just on the gimbal handle menu, which is just absolutely fantastic, which means no taking the computer with you on a shoot. You can just access all those information or settings over here. For example, joystick speeds, you know, the follow speeds, all these things. Another thing is that it's got the latest upgraded motors, which means there's a lot of power in those motors, but not just the power, but you think that this is just one chipset somewhere in there, but actually there are 3 microprocessors inside this gimbal, because there's so many different features and so many different things going on. There's basically 3 computers configuring it all to make this awesome footage. I think it's pretty cool. Also, the quick release plate is compatible with Manfrotto tripod heads, which means you can just, after using this, pull it out from the gimbal, put it on your tripod, off you go. Also, another really cool thing is, so they've designed it so you can set it up as fast as possible, is actually camera memory setup. Basically what that means is, if you're using the same camera and the same lens, then underneath here you can set where the camera is balanced on the last axis, that you don't, you know, adjust that often. So you set it there, pull the camera in, and it straight slots into that position where the camera is balanced, so you don't even need to balance the last axis. Slot it in, tighten the axis, boom, you're off to go. So these are like the main features that like kind of jumped out of the page for me, that were like super awesome. So I just want to share these with you. Also, there are some other things, and I'm gonna leave a full link in the description where you can find some other details about it. But also, good news is that there will be a little coupon code in the description where you can get this a little bit cheaper than retail price if you bought it straight off the store, because you're watching this Tech Notice channel, and I've got some, you know, goodies for you. Just little golden nuggets. There you go, enjoy, boom. I want to talk about now some of the things that I like, and then we're gonna go into the things that what I don't like. What I really like about this gimbal is, first of all, the size. It's very small, and I quite like that, because it means that I can put it in the backpack, or it's just very compatible with what I do, you know, on weddings or things like that. It's not massive, it's small, you can take it anywhere. Traveling, it's just perfect for these types of things. But the thing that is the most amazing, that I'm absolutely impressed with, is the performance and the smoothness. I took it out for a test, and I was just, first of all, you know, straight away when you start using it, you realize, wow, just like some of the movements that your hands are doing, it's just somehow the software and these 3, you know, computers inside, they just make it like awesome. All what I want the footage to look like, or how I want it to smoothen out, it just does all that with a perfect amount of speed. So I haven't changed much, well, actually any settings, coming straight out of the box, and I'm absolutely loving the settings, how it handles. So one of the tests I did was, there was literally just, I was in the forest, you can see on some of the B-roll here, but I was literally like legging it through the forest. Like, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna hold the gimbal and I'm just gonna absolutely leg it through. I shot everything in 25 frames per second in 4K, but I haven't smoothed out anything, and just look at the footage. When I'm on that straight and running straight down this like straight line, it looks like I'm flying a drone, and that just absolutely blows my mind. I'm thinking, you know, usually you see these gimbal shots and you get these, like, when you're walking, you still get a little bit of that, you know, stepping, unless you're doing that incredible ninja walk, but you get this a little bit of bounce when you step in, which you probably can't get rid of. But when you're running, I don't know what's happening over there. Even if you add a tiny bit of warp stabilizer in the post, you could get insane looking footage. It's a very high payload motor, so you don't need to worry about if this gimbal handles your camera. The only requirement that you have to worry about is that if you're using some of the cameras that have a battery grip or taller cameras, which means that the center of gravity goes higher in the pitch axis over here, then it's not going to fit on the gimbal. It doesn't balance properly. Basically, for this setup here, Maverick, you're gonna have to take the battery grip off, or if you have 1DX, it's not gonna work on this gimbal. That's like one of the downsides, but high payloads, any camera will do. I've got to give some points to the name and design. I mean, it's all like black design. There's only like slight little trims of red, which looks very, very tasty. I do enjoy the matte black design. Like all of this, even the follow focus, everything is just black, which if you're into that, you're probably gonna love it. And the name Maverick, I think this is the coolest name out there. If you're familiar with Pilot Fly products, then you've probably heard of the Adventure. And what I didn't like about the Adventure was that when you want to change the follow modes, it's gonna turn off the gimbal motors for a second. So for example, if I wanted to be on full lock and follow someone, because I don't want it to turn left and right, and then that subject is turning, I want to quickly change it to all follow mode. But what the gimbal actually did previously was it's going to turn off and go and then go back on, which means it's going to ruin my shot. But with this one now, the motors are not turning off, which means I can literally go all lock mode, boom, change it to all follow, and it will just start following all the axes when I'm moving. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. Oh, especially in weddings. It's got absolutely loads of features, like I mentioned before, and I think this is just awesome. You know, there are some gimbals that, you know, come and they're already set kind of so you can use them. But if you're that type of guy who likes a lot of features packed in, and actually there's some more software upgrades coming and gets even more, you know, stuff inside, then you're probably gonna love this. And I love it as well, because sometimes you just want one tool to do a lot of things, so that your actual toolkit just consists of a few things, but you can do a lot of different things. So for example, if you're doing weddings or things like that, shooting travel films, it's awesome to have something like a gimbal that does a lot of things, so you don't have to carry a lot of equipment. If you're familiar with gimbals, you've probably read from some of the instructions that there is a simple BGC software. Now, if you've ever tried that software, you know that it's not so simple. You open that software and what it looks like is like, hello, welcome airplane cockpit. I don't know how many buttons are there. There's 100 millions of dials. All the different parameters change for different types of ranges. So it's not just from 1 to 10 and 1 to 100. Some of them go to minus to 20. Some of them go to 0 to 100. Some of them go to 0, 255. It makes no sense to me. There's loads of things that, you know, you just go to the pilot school to actually learn that stuff. If you're into that type of stuff and you like to change them, you know, by all means, go for it. But the cool thing, what they did is they actually integrated that them settings inside the handle over here. So the main settings of the simple BGC, so like the PID settings and things like that, you can actually change them inside the handle. So if you're experiencing micro vibrations or jitters or whatever like that, and you want to fine tune it to the absolute perfection, you can do that inside the handle. Finally, I do quite like that camera position memory thing that's on the bottom of the plate over here as well, which means that it's even faster setup time, and it just makes sense. And the customer support is absolutely fantastic. So if you do have any other questions about this gimbal, just drop them an email, and you know that these nice people from Germany are answering you very, very quickly and answering all your questions. Now, the two things what I don't like about this gimbal, because I have to be honest with you guys. Okay, first of all, I can't use the battery grip on this gimbal. My style of shooting is I'm using a battery grip on the actual camera, which means that because I'm using a mirrorless camera, often the lens is very front heavy and it's not balancing properly on my hand when I'm shooting handheld. But using a battery grip gives me extra weight and balances the lens and body very nicely. But that means that once I move on to the gimbal, I'm gonna have to take the battery grip off, which just slows down the shooting process, and I really don't like that. Until now, I think it's a downside for this gimbal, and some of you, depending what camera you're shooting, needs to know that when you're using battery grip, most likely with the battery grip, it's not going to balance on here and you can't use it. So you have to take your battery grip off. And the second thing that I'm not quite sure about is the weather sealing or the weatherproofness of this. Now, I didn't find any information about it, but just looking, like I can see like a port open over here, and there's like charging ports on the pitch axis over here, and just makes me wonder like how weather sealant it is. Like, I'm never gonna go in the rain to shoot with it, but just like wondering what this is. So if you're shooting, I don't know, somewhere in the rainforest with it, then you might want to think about that. But I don't know if any gimbal is like waterproof, because there's quite like meticulous engine work going on inside this. So I'm not sure if it can be, but probably just maybe caution here. Or then lastly is the price. Now the price for the gimbal is just, you know, double check on the description. By the way, check out the description. There is a little coupon code for you where you can get a few percentages off for your purchase because you're watching this video. You're welcome. The price for the gimbal only without the follow focus system, I think it's around £600, £650 or something like that, which is slightly more expensive than the Ronin S. Although this packs a little bit more features, Ronin S. So, and with the follow focus, which is quite hardcore follow focus, by the way, you don't have to use it only for this gimbal. You can use it for any other setup, which is just a cool thing to have anyway. It costs around 800 euros or 900 euros. So it's a little bit more expensive than some of the mainstream gimbals that you find out there. I think if you're wanting something special and something that does a lot of more than, you know, the average gimbal out there, then I think you should consider that. In conclusion, do I recommend this to people? I absolutely do. I think this is like much more refined and finished product than the Adventurer. If you don't know what that is, the link is in the description or up there. Also, if you want to know what comes in the package, I forgot to mention in the beginning, there is another video out up there. Now check it out. This is like the first impressions and all the things that come in the package. You can check that out over there. But I think overall it just comes with a lot of features and is really good gimbal, especially the performance. I just know that I can rely on the smoothness of this. I'm not getting any micro jitters. I'm not getting any horizon drift. It's just been awesome, and I can calibrate everything over there. So I'm really happy with this. So I really recommend anyone who's thinking about this, just it's a really awesome product. Now, just lastly, if you do have any other questions, leave them in the section below, and I'd love to make, you know, your questions answered video form so other people who have similar questions may know this as well. So make sure you leave the comments below, and I'll meet you in the comment section below. Now, lastly, if you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing, because more videos like these are coming out every single week. So stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you soon. Oh, it's like Peter McKinnon's 2-Minute Tuesdays. Never 2 minutes. You just can't talk enough, and I went through this really fast. There's loads more to talk about. Just went in the back of the camera and there's 27 minutes on the clock.